Soldiers of Shoot.
All right. Soldiers of Shoot. Hashtag SOS. Solo mission. Daddy Cool AC, the captain of swag, the captain of chaos, the sultan of swag. However many nicknames I want to have. What's up, baby? Oh, I'm fired up tonight. I love you guys. I really do. I do love you. I had this whole format picked out, and I was going to do this show in a structured way. And then I just finished watching NXT. And I'm just going to scrap whatever I was thinking. We're going to do the ROH. And then I'm going to get to the elephant in the room, the response to the response to the response to the response to the response. So it's really not a response. We're going to get to the Soldiers of Shoot business and put it all to bed, put it all to rest. And I think what I have to say will do that. I hope. We'll get there second. And I'm going to close with the NXT talk because it's going to spiral into some of my Mania talk. It's going to spiral into the WWE talk. And I just really want to give NXT a solid amount of time. So we'll do ROH quick. We'll get to the, like I said, the elephant in the room, the SOS stuff, the response to the response to the response to the response to the response. Just kidding. It's not a response. And I don't want to get there yet, but Hollywood Edwards, my boy Bleeding for Truth out there on the Twitterverse, on the Twitter machine, basically said that I could have the last word, and that's really not what I want. I don't want it to come off that way. I don't want it to be that way. But I'm going to say something about it, and I think it'll just put a bow tie on it, and we can all move on and talk about pro wrestling, and that's what we're all here for. But anyway, ROH, really quick. I've done a lot on ROH in the last week. We did the pre-show, we did the post-show to the pay-per-view. And leading into that G1, the big G1 show, I'm happy to, I don't want to say announce a report because it's out there. It's on social media. Everybody knows. Flip Gordon is cleared to wrestle. He'll be on the show. Tremendous. I'm very happy for Flip. Anybody who knows me knows that I have a personal relationship with Flip, and I'm very happy that he's going to be in that show. I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for ROH because I think it's a big thing for both him and ROH. I think, obviously the wrestler wants the platform, and obviously the company wants to have more big-time talent they could portray, and I think Flip is one of those guys, and I think that's great for them. But the big news with ROH is the three-man title match, and I think it makes sense coming out of what they did on the pay-per-view. You have Matt Taven, you have Marty Scurll, and you have the incumbent champ, unless you're Matt Taven or a fan of Matt Taven who might think he is the champ, Jay Lethal. They're gonna put a ladder in the ring. They're gonna put the title up on the rafters. Then they're going to do a ladder match for the ROH Championship in Madison Square Garden. And I love this in so many ways I can't explain it. I love it from the standpoint it makes sense to the story they've told. They interjected Marty in this story, which is great for ROH. It's great for Marty. It's great for Taven. It's great for Lethal. I mean, obviously, Lethal's the old vet. Taven's kind of the... one of those constant guys that's been there, that's getting the push now. And you got Marty Scurll, who, let's face it, had his contract not be what it is, it might be elsewhere, but he is where he is now. And if Marty Scurll becomes ROH champion or face of ROH, does Marty Scurll leave or does he stay and be that guy? I think there's real possibilities that he does. I think there's real possibilities that he doesn't. But we are where we are, and Marty Scurll's in ROH, and Marty Scurll has a prominent role in ROH. And I agree with ROH putting Marty Scurll in this prominent role, given the fame, given the idea that he's very popular, not only in the U.S., but globally. And hey, listen, if you want to keep some of these guys, it's not, okay, we're going to forget about you until you resign. It's, no, this is, if you stay here, this is what you are. This is what you're going to be. You're going to be a face of the company if you stay here. And if you go there, maybe you're a mid-carder. I'm not saying that's the case for Marty Scurll, but I'm saying is if I'm ROH, this is what I'm doing. I think that makes sense. I think it makes sense from every perspective possible. You have Old Reliable. You have the ROH. I don't want to call him John Cena because I think it's unfair in some ways, but you have that staple, that go-to guy in Jay Lethal. And then you have kind of the wild card. You have the guy who's been up and down, has carried titles, who's been in the company, who's been out of the company, has been a part of 2 different factions of the kingdom, and now he's in this main event program and killing it. And I don't care what you guys out there say, friends of mine, the idea, if you don't like Taven anymore, that's 100% fine. Everybody has a right to their opinion. They have a right to like or not like things, and I'm not going to... I've done it in the past where I'm like, how could you not like this? Or how could you like that? You know what? This is the honest God's truth. If you like something, like it. If you don't like something, don't like it. Who am I to tell you not to like something or to like something? Because I probably dislike things that people like, and I probably like things that people don't like. And I'm probably going to get to a lot of that on this show. And that's okay. But if you dislike Matt Taven, that's fine. I just think in this situation... he's hitting a home run. And I've had friends of mine say that Lethal carried Taven, and they didn't watch the match, so it's easy to say that if you didn't watch the match. But if you did watch a match and that's your take on it, I don't know what you are watching, but okay. We'll leave it at that. But I think that the 3-way ladder match for the ROH title, I think it has to be the biggest match on the show. I think it has to go last. The ladder match in Madison Square Garden, where it was originated, tremendous. I like the idea. I liked everything leading up to all of this. I like the fact that ROH kind of went out of the box with this feud. You had the real champ, the fake champ, or the real champ and the fake champ, depending on who your side you're on. You had the title getting smashed. You had the idea that the main event of a pay-per-view didn't go last. And I agree with all the reasons why it didn't go last, and it was a tremendous match. Then you had Marty Scurll steal the title. And then you had Marty Scurll come out and say, hey, yeah, I stole the title, but I was just wanted to give you an idea of what it's going to be like when I take your title. So guess what? You could have it back. And then Marty talking about how he deserved the match. Taven talking about he deserved the match, and Jay Lethal being who he is, the fighter, the face of ROH, the Cena, whatever you want to call him. I'll take on all comers. Let's have a 3-way. And then you had the 2 heel-ish guys say, well, I don't want to lose the match because Marty gets pinned, and I don't want to lose the match because Taven gets pinned. And Jay Lethal basically says, okay, we're in Madison Square Garden. Record-breaking history here, 20 years ago, yada, yada, yada. Let's hang the belt in the middle ring. Let's do a ladder match, and they all accept. And I thought that was tremendous. And that's basically where I wanted to get to with ROH. And the other one is Jeff Cobb and Will Ospreay. I think that match is going to be tremendous. I mean, I don't want to go through the whole card now because, I mean, obviously we'll probably do a pre-show for the G1 and a post-show. That's my plan. I plan on taking off work that entire weekend. I plan on doing pre and post. Basically, my plan is to do pre-ROH /takeover, post-ROH/takeover. So we're going to get to all of it with you. And I'm sure we'll do a lot of Mania stuff with the Soldiers of Shoot. Before we get to this Soldiers of Shoot situation, I'll call it. I don't want to call it a rivalry or a beef. I just think that's lame and not really what it is. Maybe more of a misunderstanding. We'll get there in a second, but before we get there, let's do the Kofi stuff really, really quick here. And really the only reason why I'm doing Kofi is because it's probably the only program really worth talking about going into Mania. I have my thoughts about other things. The Ronda stuff, I tend to agree with what a lot of people are saying. Like, Ronda should just squash him out and be done with it, but we'll see how that goes. The Kofi stuff, and we'll get into this a little bit more as we get into the misunderstanding, I'll call it. I'm not going to say I love where they're headed with this program, but I will say at least it's getting a reaction. At least it seems to me that people are invested in this Kofi thing. The company's invested in it. The fans are invested in it. The blowhards like us who are talking on YouTube and on podcasts are invested in it. So that's a good thing. And before I get into particulars, because I think it all kind of ties together here, the little spat between myself and Hollywood Edwards, between myself and at Bleeding for Truth on Twitter, I'll put it to you this way. I responded to some comments that were made on a show on the Soldiers of Shoot that maybe I kind of took out of context or maybe didn't understand where he was going at the time. And the show that Edwards or that Hollywood and General Stames did, the Double Trouble, which was tremendous. And you guys should go on to the Soldiers of Shoot YouTube channel and listen to that show, especially if you want to hear the Raw and SmackDown breakdowns and some Mania, early Mania preview, and not predictions, but some kind of interest level stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. You guys should go listen to that. And Edwards kind of came at me in two different spots on the show. He did it early on and he did it later on, which is fine. I'm not listen, I'm not butthurt about it. And he brought up the fact that I took a major L on Twitter last week, and I did. Listen, you live and learn. Sometimes you respond to things you shouldn't. Sometimes your response is what it shouldn't be. And I think when you have somewhat of an ego, which I'm not going to deny I have, I think you sometimes feel like you're a little bit, I don't want to call it bulletproof, but kind of bulletproof, where I'll just make a comment and I'll trash him, and you basically dig your own grave. And I think in a lot of ways I did on this Twitter beef, and I'm not going to put the guy's name out there. And listen, you won. I take my L. You destroyed. You squash matched me on Twitter. Congratulations. If that what makes you happy in life, good. I'm happy for you because you did. I'm admitting it. I'm admitting defeat. I think I admitted defeat by stopping when I did. I probably didn't stop when I should have. And honestly, Bleeding for Truth, Hollywood is the one that kind of made me see the light through some of his tweets, which were fair, and I think I'm happy for that, and I respect that, and I'm thankful for that, because I probably would have kept going, because that's just who I am. But I read these tweets, and I'm like, you know what, he's right. Like, I'm getting my ass handed to me here, and I'm just digging my own grave further and further. So I'm thankful to Hollywood for those tweets to end the madness, so to speak, and you know, make me punch myself in the face, so to speak. But anyway, as far as the rebuttals and the responses and all this, I'll be honest. When I heard the show where I felt like I was being called out, this is the honest to God's truth. I didn't consider what I had said on the Fastlane post show. And listening to this recent show that Hollywood and Stames did, where I got the response from Hollywood, and he said, listen to your own words. I'm not going to go back and replay it. Go back and listen, which I did. And let's be honest, he's 100% correct. I did say that I didn't think that they were going to go forward with Kofi. I took what he was saying on one show out of context in comparison to what I said on the previous show. And I mean, listen, I'm sure half you guys are out there like, get to the point, bro. Like, I'd rather just hear you talk about NXT or ROH or Mania or whatever else. And I'm getting there. I'm sorry. I'm going to get there. The bottom line is this. I said what I said and I own it. I now disagree with what I said on that show. I think they are going to give Kofi his moment. I don't know if that means he's going to win the title or he's just going to be in the match. I think they're going to give him his moment. I'll say this. I don't like how they're getting there. I have a pretty good idea how they're going to get there, and I think Stames and Hollywood were onto something when they were saying with the hijack SmackDown or the, hell no, we're not going to wrestle unless Kofi gets his spot. And I think all the baby faces are going to band together. I think they're going to do the Rudy routine. I think they're going to drop the jerseys on the coach's desk and say, and obviously I'm speaking figuratively out there for people like, truck drivers and others that need you to be specific. That I can't help myself sometimes. I'm sorry. Anyway, I think they're going to do one of these pussy-ass, all the pussy-ass baby faces, which, let's be honest, other than a select few, the Usos and Hollywood and Stames talked about this. The Miz cut a great promo. And I'm into the Usos too. But I think other than those few, a lot of these baby faces are pussy-ass baby faces. And I think they're going to band together and force the company to give Kofi his match because they won't compete at WrestleMania or won't show up to accesses or whatever way they're going to play this. The roster is going to get Kofi the match now. And I think that's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious to me, A, because it's really the only thing that makes sense at this point. And they planted the seeds with all the guys, especially the SmackDown pussy-ass baby faces and even some of the good baby faces were Kofi. And I think you might even get some of it on Raw, which, let's face it, the brand split's over. There's one thing, and I'm not going to say this, and I'm not calling Stames and Hollywood out by saying this, but they brought up Jinder Mahal when they were talking about the brand split. And to be fair, I agree. The brand split's bullshit. We all know that. And I'm not defending the WWE for their trashing their own brand split. But to be fair, in the Jinder Mahal scenario, he was a part of the last redrafting of the brands. So him being on Raw is not upsetting the brand split. That's all. I'm just throwing it out there. Obviously, Ricochet beating him, we're all fine with that. Okay, we'll that whole other stuff with the NXT guys is another story for another day. But Jinder Mahal wrestling on Raw is not really making a farce of the brand split, considering he was drafted to Raw at the last redraft. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. Not that I'm trying to correct people. I'm just making a point. That's all. And like I said, to put this all to rest with the Soldiers of Shoot stuff, going back and listening to all the content, I think Hollywood had a point. I think his point was fair. And I think, listen, most of my reaction was just me having fun too. And if I took it to a level that made people feel like it was more than that, I apologize, number one. And number two, I took my L in the Twitter beef, and I'm going to take my L with this feud. And listen, I'm not a pussy-ass babyface. But I'm also a man, and I could take my L like a man. And I'll take my L's, and that's fine. Moving on from there, we will get to this NXT stuff. Obviously, Tommaso Ciampa has had neck surgery, and according to reports, he's not going to be out as long as you thought maybe a year, might be 6 months. It might be more like 4 to 6 months or 4 to 8 months, or we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously it's neck surgery, so we don't want to put any pressure on Ciampa, who's a guy who's had multiple surgeries in the last few years. And I saw Ciampa on the Indies. I met Ciampa on the Indies, and we wish him nothing but the best. But as they say, the show goes on. And the NXT show was based around a 5-man match for the right to face Johnny Gargano for the vacated NXT championship. And they put a 5-man match on that on the surface was tremendous. Adam Cole, baby. And as we used to say on The Cool Truth, Edwards and I, Billion for Truth and I, Adam Cole, baby! It was the only way we used to say his name when he was in ROH at the time. Velveteen Dream, who is top 5, one of my favorite wrestlers right now. And I've been combated about Velveteen by a lot of people, including King Firehawk. But I love Velveteen Dream. Velveteen Dream's in the match. Riddle Bro, Matt Riddle, the former UFC fighter, the former Ultimate Fighter cast member in this match, and Monster Factory graduate, Matt Riddle Bro. And then you had the tag team that's going to wrestle for the Dusty Rhodes Cup next week, and the right to face the War Machine, or the War Raiders. The War Raiders. And Stames, Hollywood, and myself sat in the ECW arena in South Philly and watched the War Machine War Raiders win the ROH titles off the Kingdom. Michael Bennett, Michael Kanellis for you WWE fanboys, and Matt Taven when Taven blew up his knee and missed 8-9 months in the ECW arena. We watched the War Raiders, the War Machine, win the titles in person. That was the one and only time we've actually met each other in person. And for guys I talk to on the regular, it's kind of like that's the world we live in, this internet world. But either way, the right to face the War Raiders, Ricochet and Aleister Black will go for that next week. And I'm not so sure they should win that match either, but we'll deal with that down the road here. But for this match, given the way everything's been booked and as great as it was, and I'm telling you, this shit was over. Every guy was over. All these guys, this is awesome. All the chants you would expect, you got them all. You got all the spots you would expect. You got different spots with different guys. But going into this match, I looked at it and I said, Adam Cole's going to win. Mainly because I have a sneaking suspicion that Aleister Black and Ricochet are going to win the Dusty Rhodes Classic, even though I don't think they should. I think they will. And given that, I didn't think that either one would win this match. Also, I have a pretty good idea that Riddle Bro and Velveteen Dream are going to wrestle for the North American Championship with Velveteen Carries at TakeOver. And that made me think again that how does it not make sense that Adam Cole wins this match? And he did win the match. And the match was tremendous. And they all got their shine. And they all got their spots. And Ricochet looked great. And it looked like Ricochet was going to win. And I was like, well, maybe they call an audible here. And Ricochet gets the pin. And they scrap this Aleister Black Ricochet tag team, have them drop the match next week, and move on with, others. But that's not where they went with this. Adam Cole gets the win. Adam Cole will get the match with Gargano for the North American Championship. It makes sense in the sense that Gargano took that they'll go for the NXT Championship. Gargano actually took the North American Championship off of Cole, so there's a rivalry there. I guess at this point you would say they are the two biggest names in NXT if you don't want to count Black and Ricochet, or they're in a conversation for the biggest names in NXT. And I think they really wanted to do Velveteen and Riddle, which I think is going to be tremendous. And I think Velveteen Dream, if they do it right, can be one of the biggest stars in wrestling. He checks all the boxes. He really does. In every single way possible. In all the directions this company wants to go, this guy checks every single stinking box. And if you're out there and you don't like some of the stuff, I get it, but let's face it, this is the climate we're in. This is the world we live in. This is the companies we deal with. And if they're going to put a rainbow on Finn Balor, why not just let the guy that actually carries the rainbow better, Velveteen Dream, carry the stinking rainbow when it's basically his gimmick? And it's not Finn Balor's gimmick. And I think it's actually hurt Finn Balor more than it's helped him or the company. But that's a story for another day. I'm not saying they shouldn't go there. I'm just saying if you go there with the right guy. And I think Velveteen is probably that guy. But all in all, it was a tremendous match. The crowd was, I was hot. I was popping. I was popping in my damn chair. I was cheering. This is awesome. I was all into it. And I'm an indie guy. I'm that guy. This is the matches I want to see. And I was sitting there thinking this. And this is the honest to God's truth. After listening to Stames and Edwards go through the WrestleMania card, and it's as lackluster as they made it sound. It really is. It's terrible. And how many stinking matches are going to be on WrestleMania? How many matches do you freaking need on WrestleMania? My God. They went through the matches and they went through the rumored matches, and I'm just like, and then Edwards brought up the time, and I'm just like, you know what? He's right. Like, how in God's name are we going to do, how are we going to sit there through this shit? I've been to 6-hour shows. I've been to great 6-hour shows that it was just like, you just get exhausted. The crowd is going to be exhausted. Oh, there's so much we could get into with that. But when you hear it out and you hear the time and you hear all the matches, you're just like, oh my God, really? I'm supposed to get excited about this? I'm excited about Ring of Honor right now. I think I'm cautiously excited, but I'm excited. I'm super pumped for NXT. I think there's some really good matches there. All right, it's Mania about Mania. I just don't see how you can have that on NXT and not find a way to get that kind of excitement on the main roster, on the main shows. Where's the wrestling? The Kofi match was good, not great. It was good. SmackDown's been consistently better than Raw. I would give SmackDown the nod for the last 5 weeks. The only thing I will say, the one bad SmackDown was one of the worst wrestling shows I ever watched in my life. But I'll give them 4 of the last 5. And before we get out of here, I will say this. This New York stuff that everybody's talking about, I agree to an extent that they shouldn't be making it seem like it's New York, New York, New York, New York. I remember the last time they were there, they did a pretty good job of making it New York, New Jersey. And I think saying New York, New Jersey is fair because, let's face it, if you're calling it WrestleMania weekend, 5/4 of that weekend, or 4/5, 5/4, 4/5 of that weekend are in New York. The Accesses, the Hall of Fame, the NXT, the Raw, the SmackDown is all in New York. WrestleMania is in New Jersey. Listen, I agree with that. I'm not starting more trouble here with Soldiers to Shoot, and I'm not trying to call out any other media personalities out there who have a problem with them New York, because I agree. It's not just New York. I like the idea of New York, New Jersey, yada, yada, yada. And when you're talking about WrestleMania, let's be fair, it's in New Jersey. WrestleMania is in New Jersey. But the weekend is a New York, New Jersey weekend. To be fair, it's not like they're not in New York at all. And I've gotten a sense, even listening to our guys, get the idea that it's like it's just a New Jersey event. That's not fair either. And I don't think it's here we go. I don't think it's the worst thing they've ever done. They've done a lot of bad shit. Hey, I agree when you're talking about WrestleMania, it's pretty bad. But when you're talking about the weekend, let's be fair. New York is part of this process. But they should be calling it New York/New Jersey, which they did last time, and I don't know why they can't just say that. It's still huge. It's fucking WrestleMania. You could do it in Paducah, and it's big. They're doing it in Tampa next year. So they got to make this big, and this is where I'm on the side of Edwards and Stames and all the other media personalities out there. You're doing WrestleMania in Tampa next year. You're making a big deal about Tampa. Now listen, I get it. Last year it was in New Orleans. You've done it in San Francisco. You've done it in Phoenix. You've done it in Detroit. You've done it in Atlanta. You're doing it in Tampa next year. This idea that you got to make it like New York. Come on, bro. Like you like. Let's call it what it is. New York, New Jersey. I think New York, New Jersey is fair. All right? But on that, though, we're going to do this. We're going to close this up. This solo mission. I hope we put a bow tie on the, I don't know, the feud, the misunderstanding. I like to call it the misunderstanding between myself and Hollywood. And listen, a lot of what I was saying on that ROH show was tongue-in-cheek, just busting balls, just going back. And probably I should have went back and listened to what I said the night before or after, and maybe I wouldn't even have to address it. The one thing I'll say is, if we're ever doing a show and I say something that anybody takes exception with, and this is not just for Hollywood, this is for anybody on Social Shoot or any podcast I'm ever on, feel free to bring it up right then and there, and we can hash it out. Or let's get together and do a show and just hash it out then. That would be my only criticism in the whole situation, was we probably could have just did a show and hashed it out on air and not had a response to the response to the response and responses and responses. But here we are, and this is it, and this is supposedly the last word. And I think, given what I've said, I think I'm taking my L's. I'm taking my L on the YouTube beef, I guess you'd call it, with Hollywood, and obviously I took my L in much greater fashion on Twitter. So we'll leave it at that. I hope you guys are enjoying the ROH. I hope you're enjoying the NXT. The Mania stuff isn't great, but you have the Kofi stuff to sink your teeth into to an extent, although I think it's a little overrated. I think this... I want a story. I guess I have to admit they're giving you one, but I also think it matters how you get to the result. And I don't know that they're getting there the greatest way, but it seems like we're heading to where we want to be. And I really think Ronda should just squash everybody. So on that note, I'm the captain of swag, the captain of cool, the sultan of swag, daddy cool, the captain of chaos. a soldier of shoot. And I'm going to say all my goddamn nicknames every freaking show I do just because I love to do it. I love you all. Good night, everybody.
Soldiers of shoot.